Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Fanalytics, where we dig deeper into your questions. So today we're going to be talking about GW2, a bit of roundup. It was a thrilling weekend, a lot of unexpected results, some not so unexpected results, but I guess the big match that we'll dive in first was Chelsea and Spurs. It's a derby. You expect fireworks, and you did get fireworks. To be fair, JC, what do you think of the match?
I think first word that comes to my mind is heated. Both teams came out the gates. It was a great game, to be fair. I think it was one of the best games this week. Lots of tactical football, which we like to see from two great coaches. So, yeah, I thought it was a great game.
So, was there any players that stood out for you, JC?
Yeah, so for me, it was Cucurella, who Chelsea just signed before game week 1. Obviously made a substitute appearance in that week, but he started at left wing back against Spurs. I thought he did a very good job in terms of pushing forward, as you could see here, like 3 carries into the attacking third, 7 progressive carries, but ultimately only with an XA of 0.3. And to be fair, a big portion of that probably came from corners. So I think in terms of how he plays in this system, which is clearly, move the entire opposition to one side, quickly switch over to the left where Cucurella can bomb forward, take the ball up. What we really want to see from him is more key passes, better crosses, all that kind of stuff. But obviously he took the corner that led to the Koulibaly goal, which is a great corner. I've kind of just realized he absolutely whips the balls in.
Yeah.
Just such a great crosser of the ball. I think he'll be really good this season. I think the only issue is just him splitting minutes with Chilwell. But if you're playing against Spurs, which is obviously a key game for Chelsea, you're likely to start more games. And obviously Chilwell's injured, but I think it was a great kind of 90 minutes for Cucurella.
Yeah, I mean, judging by that performance, he looks very tidy on the ball.
Yeah,
looks very comfortable in possession. Chilwell feels like more of someone that can get in behind sort of defences a lot quicker. But I like Cucurella's performance. He looked quite confident and composed considering his first game. It's a big step up, but he looked really good.
Yep, another player that I wanted to highlight was Mason Mount. He had 8 progressive carries, 12 mid pressures, and 7 tackles. He was probably like a key vital component of the match between Chelsea and Spurs. I think there's a very rarity of players like Mount. Players who can excel in terms of being a number 10, a number 8, even going out wide. Heck, he could probably play wing back, He's that versatile kind of player. And a lot of comparisons early in his career was to be sort of a Lampard kind of role, arriving late into the box. But I think he's probably upgraded on that. He's such a tactical, clever player. He sort of just, Tuchel can occupy different spaces for him. And I think it was quite interesting to see that they went man for man, Spurs, and Mount just dropped in, and he was able to pick up the ball continuously, and that's why he got those 8 progressive carries. And then also at the same time, he did 7 tackles, 6 of them 1 possession. I think that was the second highest of all players this game week. So he's got both components. I would like to see more goals from him. Like he's more of a spurty player. But
yeah, I
think once Tuchel gets the system going again, it's because I think they're still a bit rustier than last season. I think he'll be a great asset.
I do love Mount. Because I watched obviously I watched this game, and he didn't stand out in the game.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have been one of the players that I would have thought of just straight off the bat talking after the game. But he just quietly gets through his work. He does it week after week. There's a reason why he's like a regular for Chelsea and a regular for England now.
Yeah, very true. He's probably in top 4 on the team sheet for Tuchel, I think.
Yeah, I reckon so.
And he just runs, he just never stops. He's always red in the face. And remember that this was one of the hottest days.
It has been hot, to be fair, yeah.
I'm hot standing, like sitting down. How's he doing it running around?
Yeah, exactly. And he just seems to like his performance never seems to drop. And like as you said, like you never really see him, but that's because he just goes about his work. He always seems to be in the right place in the right time. And like him and Cucurella on that left side was doing some bits. Yeah. Like between them both, I feel like that's where a lot of kind of the progression will come from. And then on the right, obviously James like whipping in balls. Like I think Chelsea are just like quite a good balanced squad that will kind of eventually get goals, as you said, Sharon. Just figuring out where they'll come from will probably be the big point for them, I think.
Yeah, I would like to see maybe, because they got these great crosses in, like you said, Cucurella and Mount on the left hand space, they were able to put balls in the box, but Sterling and Havertz, they're not that kind of players. So I've always wondered what Chelsea would look like. I know they like Havertz for his work rate, his sort of being a false nine, but to have a player that can go in behind, they have Broha, I think, from Southampton. He was alone. He's there. I would like to see him a bit more game time, I think.
Well, it was a big problem. It was a big problem for Chelsea in this game. They dominated the majority of this game, really, but didn't create enough sort of clear-cut chances for all their possession and whatnot. And it does seem like something that they're going to sort of struggle with, just breaking teams down.
Yeah, very true. And I guess most interesting at this match, obviously you had Conte and Tuchel with that classic handshake that probably will go in Premier League lore. But it was actually quite a good tactical chess match. Wouldn't you say, Matt?
Oh, it's brilliant. It was brilliant. And I knew straight away from kickoff, Loftus-Cheek, Sky Sports had him lining up at right wing back, and I thought, okay, Tuchel's got something planned here. So on the face of it, they were lining up same as Spurs, man to man, 3-4-3.
Yeah.
But Chelsea in possession looked a lot different. Yeah, as you see from the animation, Loftus-Cheek sort of tucked in and pushed forward as a sort of central sort of right midfielder in attacking sense.
Yeah. And
Reece James was right up getting forwards from right fullback. More of like a sort of 4-4-2 formation almost for Chelsea, and they overloaded that midfield. Højbjerg and Bentancur really struggled to get hold of the ball, and they couldn't stop Chelsea. JC mentioned it earlier, the way Chelsea switched the ball from side to side. Cucurella had a lot of joy down the left-hand side just because of Tottenham being dragged around. Early in the second half, Conte responded. Richarlison came on. They went to a 4-4-2. Mm-hmm. Dragged Koulibaly into some uncomfortable areas. Got a goal, and Tuchel comes back, and they revert to their normal 3-4-3, with Reece James going out to right wing back, Azpilicueta coming on at centre back, and again just use the width. Now that Spurs have gone to a 4-4-2, now they plan to use their width in a different way. And that helped Reece James get the goal for 2-1.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tuchel really came out on top of Conte in the tactical battle. You know, Spurs really struggled for control of the game. It was only Richarlison's energy, really, more than anything, that helped sort of spurt them into a semi-recovery. And, you know, a set-piece goal at the end, I mean...
Yeah.
I can see why Tuchel was so frustrated at the end. I think that was what it was more than anything. The referee didn't help him today, obviously, but or on Sunday, I should say. But this is what these teams are about. This is why we said, even with all the uncertainty around Chelsea at the start of the season, they still have Thomas Tuchel. He is still a great manager, one of the best in Europe, and he showed it on Sunday. To be honest, he bodied Conte tactically.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's quite interesting to note, maybe Spurs of yesteryears under Pochettino or under other managers, they might have done a bit better tactically, but I think with Conte, they do have a bit more spirit. They were still in the game. With the front three they have.
It's a mindset thing. Mindset thing, and maybe the fact it's Conte changes the narrative as well.
Yeah,
maybe if that was under Mourinho, maybe it was just lucky Mourinho.
Mm-hmm.
When it's Conte, it's like, oh, this guy's special mentality monsters and all that. But yeah, I mean, you can look at it both ways with Spurs. Disappointing to have played quite badly, really, in such a big game, but disappointing at Stamford Bridge. I think they would have taken that before kickoff.
Yeah, very true. I guess that takes us to our next game, which is... Oh no. Man United and Brentford. Wow. As me and JC are Man United fans, this is going to be a hard one for us. And we probably can go for 10 hours on this match, but I don't think anyone wants to see a grown man cry on YouTube. So
to be fair, I think Gary Neville's already logged 10 hours of this.
Very true. And yeah, to be fair, like, it's 4-0, it's surprising, but at the same time, it's not that surprising that Brentford beat us. I think last season when Brentford faced United, they had a better XG and we were just luckily either scraped a point or won. And I think, we saw Brighton last game. Teams just know how to play against us. And I think the biggest problem, well, there's a list of problems, but the biggest problem is the build-up for me. So I think in the start, I think it was for the second goal, Jensen's goal, you had Martinez taking the goal kick. He passes it to De Gea. De Gea has now options. He's got Eriksen, he's got Maguire, but in a split second, because he's not that great on the ball, he can't take his time. And obviously Jensen was man-marking Christian Eriksen so tight, and De Gea has only a few options. So obviously Maguire and Martinez are cover shadowed by Tony and Bembo because they're doing curve runs. So all he could do is, the first options is if he can do diagonal pass to Sancho or Rashford, but he doesn't have that in his locker. The second option is to go in the fullbacks, but because Brentford put their fullbacks so high up, he was kind of unsure, and which is fair enough because the other options are the midfield, which are already tightly marked. So he went for Eriksen, which wasn't the greatest pass to Eriksen because he couldn't turn. Jensen was all over him, and it ended up stealing the ball and then quite a nice finish actually. Kind of disguised it to the right and then to the left. And I think that is an indicative problem for Man United if their biggest errors are in possession. Teams will just lovely to just give the ball back to United, let them do all the mistakes. And we saw last week, JC mentioned about McTominay and Fred, about them not being able to progress the ball up the pitch. Now we have De Gea now being highlighted. And I think another issue, if we do go play long, we don't have anyone to hold the ball up there. Our teams is not designed for any kind of hold-up play, any kind of progression. Our core is severely weakened, and all kudos to Brentford. They're organised, they came with a tactical plan, but I can see just week on and week out, it's going to be happening to Man United.
I think, like, just on that, I think that was like spot on. Like when Eriksen kind of goes forward, goes backwards when De Gea had the ball, you could see Eriksen was saying like, "Don't pass to me." He was clearly trying to make space in behind for like all the other players to receive the ball. De Gea just mentally, maybe because of the goal prior, just completely stopped, panicked, passed to De Gea, and maybe it's something like intrinsic in like the system where it's quite concerning that De Gea took the first thing he saw and couldn't analyze the situation properly.
I think that's what it is. I think, especially for a team that's just installing this sort of philosophy.
Yeah.
There's always these teething problems. They obviously work on set routines. De Gea to the six out wide. You drag the attack, but that's not always the right option. Like you said, he has to analyze the situation better. And listen, it does come down to the manager as well. How much does he insist upon it? Is he insist upon it to the level that, hey, we're going to make some mistakes, we're going to concede some goals from this, but it's for the greater good? Or, hey, actually, let's just get it out, get rid of it if we're in trouble?
I guess it's a similar scenario to when Arteta joined Arsenal, right? And there you had Leno, who was a great shot stopper, like De Gea, but not great with his feet or not great at commanding the box.
Well, I'll go back further than that to Emery. He was the first that really tried to install this.
Yeah,
I remember the same. I remember Petr Cech almost kicking it into his own goal against Man City on the opening day. I mean, that's not a team you want to be taking on when you're not too ready. But yeah, I think we'll see a bit of this from United this season. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see which way Ten Hag goes. Will he continue with the system? I'm sure he has to adapt in some kind of way.
To.
Yeah, he did adapt in the second half, to be fair. And in terms of attacking players, Matt, 2 players didn't have the right cards on the table.
Yeah, I think United's 2 best, certainly goal scoring attackers at the moment in that squad. An imperfect squad, yes, but Ronaldo and Bruno between them had 9 shots, 0.3 combined XG. Only 2 of them were on target. It just showed that United just, not only they're not great defensively, they don't really have a way to break teams down at the moment. I think it was just a lot of pot shots from distance from these 2.
Yep.
That's where United are. It's just hopefully a bit of magic in attack at the moment because the structure's a little bit lacking, probably.
It's hard because mentally, if you could see 2 goals, especially the first 2 goals, where attackers not involved at all, it's a bit disheartening, right? It's a bit hard to get motivated once you're 2-0 down to already a great defensive side like Brentford. Yeah,
and Ronaldo, a couple of times last season, I think of that Tottenham game last season, he scored a couple of absolute worldies in that game.
Yeah. And
United won a game that they had absolutely no right to win.
Hopefully against Liverpool.
Well,
who's a standout player for you for Brentford?
Brentford is Matthias Jensen. 5 SCA, 1 goal, 1 assist, 3 tackles in the centre of the park. It was a sort of all action performance from him. And they just seem to have a team of these sort of guys. They're not household names. They just work really, really hard. You spoke about how they play to a plan. They did that all last season. We remember them taking Chelsea apart at Stamford Bridge pretty brilliantly. But yeah, I love watching Brentford. I really do. They're a great team, and Thomas Frank, I think he's going to start getting regarded as a really good manager.
Oh yeah, 100% for sure. I think he's got the team playing quite a good, unique way of football as well. It's not the possession-based football that we keep seeing. It's a good counter to that, to be fair, and it's quite organised, quite structured in his own right. Yeah,
I think it's going to be quite similar to what Forest do this season as well, where it's structured, but they get forward in attack. It's not just like you always think of like long ball teams as quite kind of defensive, but they're actually quite attacking teams for all the long balls. They're just very sort of quick counter, fast break kind of teams.
Yeah, that's.
I think it's quite indicative of like these well trained, well coached teams where they may not be blistering in attack like initially, but when it gets the counter, something switches, and then now's our chance. Now we kick it forward. Now we go. Like that 4th goal for Brentford, where I can't even remember who booed it out, but somebody booed it out to Tony on the left hand side. Tony, no hesitation, quick look up to Mbeumo, 4-0. Like that kind of implies to me that they knew their roles, they knew where everyone is at every given point of time. And I don't think you could say the same thing for United, to be honest. And even some of the other higher up teams as well. They're just well organised, I would say.
One thing that quickly stood out to me about United, it wasn't just one. It wasn't just kind of one goal that they kept conceding, or one thing that Brentford kept taking advantage of. You have one goal that's just a De Gea mistake. That's what De Gea has become the last few years, unfortunately. you got a goal from a set piece, you got a goal from which was kind of tactical, trying to take advantage of United's difficulty playing out from the back.
Yep.
One on the counter attack. It was just a complete, almost demolition of United. It wasn't a demolition in the sense that they like dominated possession, but they just found ways to just take them apart time after time.
Yeah, almost taking every United's weakness.
Yeah,
Each goal kind of represents each one. Set pieces, the counter attack against the high line if we want to get a high line, building out the back, and then mistakes.
And all these things are things that they're the things that teams can get right quite quickly. You know, getting good at set pieces. It's like a toughness thing. It's like a mental toughness thing. We don't concede from set piece. Yeah, look, you might just beat us tactically. You might have better players, but you're not just gonna, whip balls into the box and just win 50-50s. We're not going to let you do that. And unfortunately, United, that's where they are at the moment.
Yeah, Man United have probably lost their fire a little bit. I think they've just had most of these players have gone round the ring too many times. I think they're beaten up. And I think one player in particular, which I think JC will highlight in a minute, is David De Gea. He was a superstar at one point, and now where is he now?
Yeah, good point. So, I think as we spoke about in last week's analysis of the game week 1 games, as soon as something bad happens, as soon as a goal goes in or a call doesn't go their way, or something tips in the opposition's favour, United just don't seem to have the mental strength to back up their talent on the pitch. Because I think there's clearly some talent in the United squad. I don't think anyone could disagree about that, but they're just not playing up to their potential. And as we said, it could be a Ten Hag thing, it could be a system thing, or it could be a player thing. So yeah, obviously the first goal from De Silva, there's not much to analyse, to be honest. He got the ball, he thumped it, and they went underneath De Gea's gloves, and from there it was just it went straight downhill. So obviously he made 3 saves, but obviously 4 goals conceded from only an opposition XG of 1.8. I wouldn't say a lot of the goals were kind of well developed almost, but the second goal or the third goal was literally a corner. It went off Martinez and went into the net off the back post. So I think for me, De Gea, and it pains me to say this because for vast majority of De Gea's career, he was the best player at United. He's saved us multiple times with phenomenal saves, and as we just said, this Ten Hag system is developed from the back, playing passes in between people, really building up from the back, and maybe De Gea just can't do that, or he isn't the right player to be able to do that. And when you've got De Gea booting the ball up 40 yards 37% of the time to Rashford, to Sancho, who aren't the most physically imposing anyway, or Fred, or Ronaldo, who doesn't have the same pace as he did in his first stint at United, it's tough. And when you have a system that's so reliant on the core focused spine, you're going to have problems against teams like Brentford, who, as we said, well coached, well drilled, they know their roles in an instant. But yeah, I still love De Gea. I hope he can really bounce back. And unfortunately, with the games that we've got coming up, it's going to be tough for De Gea.
I think if his career does recover, I don't think it's going to be United. I think both him and club, I think the time has come for that break.
It's a hard one because he's the most paid goalkeeper. There's not many teams are going to take him off our hands.
No, certainly not permanently on that sort of. What's his contract situation year-wise? Quite a few years, right?
Yeah, because he only extended a couple of years. So it's a hard
one. Good old United. Yeah.
Good thing we have that backup goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. No, I'm joking.
He also doesn't want to play for United anymore. Great stuff.
Nobody wants to play for us. On to more cheerier things. Let's go to the next match. So next match was Aston Villa and Everton. I was a bit surprised. I thought it'd be bit of a dead ringer, but surprisingly quite good. Aston Villa just edged the win. Everton did put a fight in the end, as you can see from the stats. It was quite a well balanced match. Aston Villa had more possession, but Everton did have some good chances near the end. I think the first scenario is the two players in question for Aston Villa.
Yeah. Once again, Coutinho just not really sort of turning up. 0 SCA, 0 GCA, 0 XG. He's so frustrating, and it must be frustrating for Villa fans. You have got a genuine quality player there, and it's just not happening. He was playing centrally in this game.
Number 10.
With a sort of, well, it was just like a free roll almost. He could drift out wide, he could come deep. He was coming deep to try and just get on the ball at times, but they need more from him. And when Dia came off the bench, half an hour cameo did a lot more. And I've been critical of Buendia as well.
Yep.
But that was a good performance by him to coming off the bench, because we said that in week 1 that Villa needed a bit more from these quality attacking players that they've got. It was still a bit dead and a bit sort of uninspiring at times from Villa, but a bit more positive, I guess.
I think the thing about the difference between Buendia and Coutinho is that, one, when he came on, it was like a completely different game.
Yes.
But the one thing I liked about Buendia was like the urgency to run into the box when Watkins was going in. Like, he was just like, he wanted something. He wanted an assist or in the goal or whatever. And I think they kind of needed that. Like, we'll go on to Watkins and Ings a bit later, but it felt like they were without like that final run into the box. And obviously he got like the second goal through a late run. And I think like Villa were just a much better team after the change due to that.
Yep, I agree. And I think with Coutinho, what he reminds me? It reminds me of James Rodriguez when he first came to Everton.
Yeah.
That kind of sparkling light, and then all of a sudden, just didn't do anything.
Well, the difference with James Rodriguez was that everyone knew he was going to explode when he first came in, and B, that it was going to disappear by about October, and we probably wouldn't really see him again. With Coutinho, he will, throughout the season, he will just shine. You can't quite predict when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But he will have a big impact for Villa over the season. It's just frustrating when it doesn't happen week to week, and you're not quite sure when it is going to happen.
Yeah, for definite. And I think Coutinho at number 10, and he's got two great striking options in terms of Watkins and Ings. JC, give me the rundown for that.
So I think first off, it's quite interesting to see the differences between Ings in game week 1 and game week 2. So for game week 1, obviously, Watkins didn't start. They were playing in a 3 up front, but in game week 2, it was Ings and Watkins up front, which we think is Gerrard's preferred formation. So I think from what I saw, kind of Ings is essentially the same player either way. It doesn't really matter. Ings is in the box. He's extremely two-footed, can absolutely blast the ball from either foot, like great first touch, whatever. As you can see from the comparison on the table, shots roughly the same, XG roughly the same between game week 1 and game week 2. I think the difference when Watkins is on in game week 2 is that because Watkins is just a phenomenal runner, like he just runs and runs and runs and runs and doesn't really stop, which allows Ings more space to maneuver in the box and get those key touches in attacking areas. So as you can see in the table, an uptick in attacking third touches, an uptick in penalty touches, and obviously for the goal, he kind of got the ball from the right-hand side. His touch kind of slightly took him off the centre, took it away from goal, but because Ings is such a good finisher, 360 no scope, spun around, booted the ball, absolutely blasted the ball past Pickford. Like I didn't even see it. Straight for the goal.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about these two. I think they're that couple that you want to end up together because they're better together than apart. I think. Watkins sometimes struggles in his hold up play when it's just him. He can get isolated, and he needs to be better at holding on to the ball in those situations, bringing others into play. And Ings, I always feel like he needs that partner next to him. He can sort of go missing unless, if the team's not finding ways to get balls into the box, from wide or from their midfielders, then he's not really going to do a lot for the team. He's not going to provide much. So, yeah, I think them two up front together is the way forward for Villa.
Yeah, it's like I think that's spot on. Like I think the clear plan was of because Everton play that high line, that like everybody just boot the ball up to Watkins. He will always chase it. He will always bring it forward. He will always find things because, as you said, that partnership is actually doing pretty nicely. I thought they played pretty good, not in the sense of they were doing tiki-taka passes, 1-2s, but they always seemed to know where each other was. So, like as you can see here, Watkins had a great game. 2 assists, XA of 1, 3 shot created actions, 2 goal created actions. But I think for me, as we said, he'll always be in with the XA points because he's actually very unselfish. I think if he was a bit more selfish, obviously Aston Villa would go down, but he would probably score more goals. But some people it's just in their game to pass to their strike partner. But his XG of 0.2, he actually had a phenomenal chance to get a goal from a Bailly pass right at the end. He was pretty much 1-on-1, but I guess he's just one of those players where I knew he wasn't going to score. He just shot it straight into Pickford. But that's not like damning of Watkins. He's a phenomenal player. I really like him just for his work rate. But if he could just finish better, I think he could really like go into a top 6 club.
Yeah, he's still young enough where there's upside to come. Yeah, I like him as well. I think there's a player that I agree with you in that he needs to get more goals, but alongside Ings, I think between them they'll get enough goals.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say there's a kind of a new age kind of striker coming through. It's the physical, running behind, kind of hold up play, and unselfish kind of play. You got Jesus, Tony, Haaland, Nunes. I think Watkins can go into that mold. Maybe not the same tier level as him, but he does have the capability. Whether Gerrard is the best manager for him to get to his best level is remain to be seen. But yeah, especially in the 2, I do very like him much so. I think
So go on.
Yeah, and especially once they figure out which is the best creative outlet behind them between Coutinho and Buendia. I think Buendia maybe suits the 10 role. I think Coutinho has always played on the left and sort of cuts in, does a long range shoot all the time.
Drifts in. And with Digne holding the width, you think it would be a sort of natural. It should work. It's just not quite happening at the moment.
Yeah.
This was just a quick one on Everton in this game. This was a really weird game to watch. I mean, the stats do look pretty even, but honestly, for 85 minutes, Everton did absolutely nothing in this game. They were dreadful, honestly. And then as soon as they went 2-0 down, they just threw caution to the wind and went for it. And honestly, could feel a little bit aggrieved that they didn't come away with a draw.
Yeah, very true.
They almost grabbed the draw at the end. They had no right to be getting a point out of that game for the way they played for 85 minutes.
Yeah,
I worry about them.
Yeah, it's quite worrying for Everton because they got Lampard in charge. He's gone to a back 5. They don't really have a recognised striker. And I think the biggest part is the midfield battle. And I think the midfield battle was 100% won by Ramsey, Bakura,
had a great game.
And McGinn. What do you think of Ramsey, JC? You're a big fan.
Big fan. I think he's a great player. as you can see here, like 5 progressive carries, first in carries into the 18-yard box, and first in distance carried. So he played in kind of the left of a left centre mid / left mid type player, basically attacking Patterson and pinning him down. They clearly identified Patterson as the one they would exploit. Yeah. And essentially, he got ball, he ran into box, he gives it ins. 34 attacking, 3rd touches, very technical. I'm surprised he's quite relaxed in his play and in his position. For someone so young, he never seems to get like stressed or doesn't know what he's doing. A lot of composure. I think for Ramsey, and obviously he's like super young.
I love his development.
Is that final ball.
Sorry, I love his development from last season. Last season, he felt like a guy that was arriving at the right time into the box and things like that, getting on the end of things. But I question what sort of role he would have as a central midfielder going forward. There's only so often, like, saw that with Dele Alli. At some point, you have to actually bring something to the midfield, be either a ball player or a ball carrier. He's certainly shown he can carry it in possession. If he can develop a passing game as well, he's going to be one of the best young midfielders in the country.
Yeah, that's the one thing I kind of noticed, that he carried the ball really well. I just think his lack of experience in getting that final killer ball could hamper him. But like in terms of his technical ability, like I think he's really good.
Yeah, that'll come decision making. He's playing with a guy like Coutinho. He'll learn stuff from him.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't learn too much.
Why? You don't want Jacob Ramsey to do well?
No, I do, of course. I just don't want him to score against Man United, as Coutinho always does. From one young talent to another, one that before he was on a free transfer, and I'm going to bit of a side note. I know him from Football Manager. He was one of my signings and all the management that I have, and he also used to play centre back, and he also played CDM, and I think there was a big rush for Man United even to try and sign him, but Ten Hag didn't join at that point. And I think he's the perfect kind of CDM that you want. In terms of what do you want from a CDM, you want someone who can progress the ball, which is number one important, as we mentioned earlier. He has 7 progressive passes and 10 final third passes from CDM. And then you also want someone who can also tackle and intercept to actually get the ball from these attackers that are arriving to help prevent the centre-backs dealing with them. And he got 5 tackle interceptions. And also, a lot of times in counter-attacks, he would drop into that 3, which allows Digne and Cash to go really far up. And he got 17 ball recoveries, which is quite a complete CDM performance, I would say. And in terms of the midfield battle with Ramsey and him, I think that they're a great duo. I think McGinn also offers that kind of tenacity, and he also is a great carrier of the ball. Do they need something extra in midfield to take them to an extra level? I do think so, but I think Kamara, for free, I think he's been steal.
You say that. We're getting to a point now where Villa have a lot of great pieces all over the pitch. I love their fullbacks. They've got a great number 6 now. There's been a lot of excitement about Kamara coming into that team. Young talent in Ramsey. Creative midfielders like Buendia, Coutinho, Bailey, if he ever gets going. They've got great pieces. I think Steven Gerrard will be under a bit of pressure soon. He's got to get this thing going at Villa, because I think there's a lot of expectation around that club.
Yeah, especially like you don't really see the diamond formation too much, but it seems like
I hate the diamond formation,
because it's like your fullbacks push up, and then there's so much. So I think like in the match, what I noticed was the fullbacks pushed on, Kamara went to the back 3.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. Yeah,
and then Ramsey went forward, and then it was McGinn in the middle of the pitch.
Oh, but McGinn counts as like 3 players.
Yeah, McGinn is a monster. He gets up and down the pitch. He's aggressive. You're not going to get past him like without feeling it from him.
That's true.
Yeah. This is what I mean. Great players. They've got great players in that team. They've got great work rate under Gerrard. That is one thing they do have. They've got to find a way to score more goals.
Yeah, very true. And I guess from one kind of like mid-table team to another, or possibly mid-table team. It was Nottingham Forest versus West Ham, and I was completely surprised by this match. I thought West Ham would have bullied them. I think Forest, it's the first Premier League game back in the same. I think over 30 years ago, I believe. I think it's their 100th game after 30 years. Might have to double check that.
Yeah, that was their 100th Premier League game. They
Wow.
got relegated in 99 or 98.
Ah,
Or 198, sorry.
Yeah, so it's great to have them back, and I would definitely not have expected this result. I guess, JC, who's the key man for you for Nuts?
For Forest. For Forest.
No, it's not natural. Do you mean to say that again?
No. Let's work through it.
Cool. So, I forgot his name. Neco Williams. Yeah, I obviously the wing back from FPL fame, the 4 million wonder kids from Liverpool was transferred to Forest this season. Another great player. Somebody who can absolutely whip in balls. Like, I love when somebody takes corners, they smack it, but also have the delicacy to put like curve in, and I think that's where they're going to get a lot of goals from corners. Created 2 chances, 4 goal attempts, over half them in the box. And also, what I like about him is that he was completely unafraid to split the defense with the ball to the strikers up front.
Yeah, I noticed that. Like, very like early long balls in behind. He can make them. He was doing that a lot. He's going to be a source of goals for Forest.
Or assists, and like, I think it's like similar to Brentford in the sense in that they had a plan, they knew the plan, and they just executed quite well. The only thing that was missing was that final touch from the striker or the goal. But I think with time, because Neco, I think he's only been in the squad for a couple of months, if that. Just hitting on that final ball, because sometimes it's literally from the inside of from their side of the field all the way down to the strikers on the other end. So completely unafraid to pull the ball forward. Got great energy. He got up and down the pitch. I think for me, the thing I noticed was towards the end he came out of the game, I thought, but I put it down to the heat. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was extremely hot.
Ridiculous day. So I think he is someone to watch out for on FBL, but also he was just fun to watch. He definitely stood out for me, and I always like those kind of players.
Yeah, he's the modern wing back, right? He epitomizes that. The bombing forward, the kind of relentlessness, and obviously he came from Liverpool. So
yeah,
Klopp's heavy metal right wing back.
He's also got the Cancelo number 7.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's got the number 7, which is I think tells you what Forest think of him, and what he's going to be attacking wise for them.
I told you, when you get the 7, you have like plus 50 through balls.
Yeah, you're just designated creator.
It's like FIFA Ultimate Card or something. I guess from number 7 to the number 1, we're talking a lot about goalkeepers today, and Man United's backup keeper is Nottingham's first start choice of keeper, and Man United. After Man United's performance, Dean Henderson puts this one in. 3 saves, 1 penalty save. De Gea, take note. 9 ball recoveries, which was the second highest for goalkeepers. 1.4 PSG. I guess that was mostly due to the penalty. I guess that's about 0.7. But still, he's a commanding presence in the box, and he's vocal with his defenders. A lot of keepers are great shot stoppers, or they're great with their feet. I think he's got a bit of everything, really. He hasn't got really a significant weakness. Every keeper's prone to a mistake. I think like last week he got beaten quite long range. He could have done better against Shaw, but I think we saw him at Sheffield United and Sheffield United's defense, and they were so strong. I think if Nottingham Forest get their defensive unit in shape, he'll be a key aspect of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on with the Sheffield United comparison. Because I was going to say this that feels like exactly where his level is right now. Was this? I think there's still question marks about whether he's going to be a top end sort of keeper, whether he's going to be competing for like England and things like that.
Yeah.
But this is where he proved himself 2 years ago. He had a frustrating year last year at United, obviously. This is the perfect year to go and show everyone again what he's got.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess we got Henderson, we got Nico Williams. They both came from big clubs. O'Brien.
Lewis O'Brien, yeah.
Face.
Yeah, that's not a great picture of him. Bless him. But he was, yeah, him and I think Tofolo or the left wing back both came from Huddersfield, who they actually beat in the playoff final. So I guess one way or another he was coming into the Premier League. Yeah, we spoke about all action midfielders earlier, and it was a great performance from him. He was everywhere, threw himself into challenges. You know, in a game where going up against like Declan Rice in the opposing midfield, you got to be up for it. You got to be up for a battle because he always is, and he looked good. He's got he's got the look of a Premier League player as well. Lewis O'Brien, when he's on the ball, he's got that lovely cultured left foot. You know, he can really play a nice ball into the box and things like that. But the work rate, and that's what it's really going to come down to for Forest. They've got when you're a team that doesn't necessarily have top end quality, you've got to outwork the opposition.
Yeah.
Like Brentford did last year, like Sheffield United did when they had their first season in the Premier League. That's what Forest have got to do to stay up.
Yeah, very, very true. And I think Nottingham Forest did really well. And I think 1-0, you might think it's a hit and grab kind of thing, but I think Fabianski had a great game, right?
Yeah, he had a great game. But obviously we spoke about Henderson. He had a great game. This game could have been any scoreline. Quite frankly, there's still concerns about West Ham's defense. We always think of Moyes' teams as being, you know, quite sort of defensively sound.
Yeah, hard to beat.
But you know, seeing Fabianski having to go to this much, you know, work at Forest, it's not a good sign. Even the goal he conceded, he was unlucky. He made a save and it bounced off the Forest striker. You know, it is what it is. It's just an unlucky day for West Ham. They created enough chances. You know, they had a great performance from their goalkeeper.
Ben Rama too. He did quite well. Hit the bar.
Yeah. Ben Rama was getting forward at every opportunity. Yeah, I think Fornals hit the bar as well from a set piece. I'm not too concerned about West Ham yet.
No.
I think this game, you know, look, obviously Man City, we said last week, West Ham's season starts here. It did start on Sunday, and honestly, it's a tricky fixture. Arsenal had it last year with Brentford, where you go to a team back in the Premier League after so long. The atmosphere, it was bouncing at the City ground. It was bouncing, and I actually thought West Ham did a pretty good job in the first 20 minutes of just kind of weathering that storm, because Forest, as you would expect, came out of the blocks at a hell of a rate, and West Ham did have to hang in there, and they did, but ended up conceding later in the half, just after they'd sort of got a foothold in the game.
Anyway, we've gone over quite a detailed run for the 4 matches, and I think we'll do now a quick roundup. There were some good matches, and I think let's start from yesterday. So Liverpool, Crystal Palace. Liverpool still haven't got 3 points on the board. Where are they at? What's going on with Liverpool?
I don't think there's panic. I don't think there's cause for panic. Both games they've created a bucket load of chances as per usual. All the attackers are getting involved. You know, obviously Nunez's red card didn't help them last night.
Yeah.
But you know, it happens. Palace just came in with a plan. executed that plan pretty well. Probably slightly unlucky not to win the game with Zaha's chance in the last 10 minutes. Should have done better with that. But yeah, I'm not too worried if I'm Liverpool right now.
I think what's good to note is Salah and Trent were on their game, especially. They were creating loads of shot. I think they were like 9 shot creations each, and I think Trent had like 18 progressive passes, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, and you spoke about you mentioned Harvey Elliott as well last week.
Yeah.
He adds a little dimension to that side as well when he's involved. They can interchange positions. One goes wide, one stays central, one goes forward. It's quite difficult to defend.
And Crystal Palace, like you said, like you see in the stats right here, Liverpool had 645 passes, but that's probably most of the Crystal Palace game plan, right? It was just to soak up the pressure, and what a trio of talent they have, right?
Yeah, of course. 3 centre backs. It's going to be that kind of game, and Zaha through the middle up front. Just hope that you can give him a little bit of service.
Yep, very true. And they had easy. If he stays fit, I think Crystal Palace have a good outlet for creativity as well. I think they were missed that a bit of last season. So,
yeah.
Yep. So let's jump on to the next match, which was Arsenal Leicester City. This was Arsenal really did control the game 4-2, but I guess the Salah own goal was a bit unfortunate, and Maddison keeper could have done better, really. So this could have been much more, I think, and I think they were complete control.
Yeah, it was pretty routine. The scoreline might suggest that sort of Leicester come back into it, but they didn't really. Like you said, the own goal was just a bit of a freak moment from a nothing pass, and yeah, the Maddison shot, Ramsdale has got to do better with that. But Arsenal are flying. They created a lot of chances against Leicester. They're looking hot.
Was there any?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think for me, I think it's always a good sign for a team when you go down. It never really felt like Arsenal got dragged down or any like mental hiccups issues straight back on it. I think they scored almost immediately after both goals, which is quite scary because that kind of suggests that they have they always have that upper gear they can kick into just in case. But like as we said like last week, Leicester will score lots of goals, but they're just so bad at the back that they will concede lots and lots of goals. And yeah, if Leicester can fix that, great. But it looks like Fofana might move to Chelsea, or in like Evans is always an injury risk. Like Amati isn't the best defender anyway. And obviously with Schmeichel leaving, really worried that Leicester, who I think is quite a well-liked team, I would say.
Yeah,
can't dislike them. That is quite worrying for them, especially with an aging Vardy, not doing what he normally do with his pace and attack defenders. But ultimately, Arsenal, like as I said, like, really good team. Like I think they have a really good squad that are well coached and well drilled with some good young talent. Yeah, like Martinelli, like I only just started to watch him more.
Yeah,
he kind of, I don't think obviously he's fast, but I think judging by where he is on the pitch and the fact that he's got like so many touches in like the attacking third, he's always in like attacking positions to put the ball in. And obviously with Jesus coming there as well, I feel like they're going to score lots. Arsenal are going to score lots and lots of goals, and I think they'll be a team to watch throughout the season.
Yep, and I think it's quite interesting to note that this season that Arsenal are going more to the left side when they bring Zinchenko on, and they brought Martinez more into the forefront, and even Jesus kind of drifts to the left. And one thing I've noticed is Xhaka seems to be. I think Wenger many years ago said he was a box-to-box midfielder, and he's definitely showcasing that. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist today, and I think he had more final third or more attacking pen touches than Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard, which is astonishing. He was really in the box.
Yeah, there was a couple of times where he just made genuine runs in behind the Leicester defence, and it's not what he used to see from Xhaka. That was a hell of a sight.
And
It's because they're in Arsenal and just in pure control. Like he just has the freedom to push forward because they're quite solid at the back with the back three when Zinchenko pushes up. I think.
I'm here for it. I'm here for attacking Xhaka.
Oh, I hate how arrogant he is. Okay.
Next week we'll see it come down, Matt. On to the next game. It was quite a thrilling game. It was Southampton and Leeds. You know, Leeds were 2-0 up. They're playing this new kind of football under Marsh, and it was going all good. And Southampton, you always worry, you know, they can get beat quite harsh. But they came back in this game.
Yeah, it was a weird game. You say it's a new Leicester. It feels new Leeds. Sorry, it feels like good old Leeds that we sort of come to love under Bielsa, where they're very exciting going forwards. It's fast break, counter attacking, sort of pedal to the metal attacking at times. It doesn't help them defensively. For the most part, but yeah, they'll be a bit annoyed that they didn't win this game. To be honest, they, 2-0 up away from home. You just got to see that game out. And Southampton, similar to the Everton thing, didn't get going until they went 2-0 down. Did nothing. Then Hasenhüttl took change from this 3 centre backs, went to more of sort of regular 4-4-2. And they got back into the game. They had great success with the 4-4-2 last year. Sometimes when teams go to these 3 centre backs, it just feels like a desperation sort of, well, we've got to get better defensively. Let's just add another defender in there. There's not really a tactical plan to it as such.
Yeah. They should really stick to their 4-2-2-2, you know. It's that kind of gegenpressing football, right? And that's what Hasenhüttl's been putting in place all these seasons.
Yeah, I think of that game where they went to Tottenham last year and just took it to them. They were brilliant, and I just, they feel. I mentioned it last week. They feel like they don't really have an identity at the moment.
Yeah, very true. One player that I've been impressed in the start of the season is the 2 names you can see there is Rodrigo. You know, last season he was a bit part player. I guess everything was through Rafinha. But this season, he's playing sort of like a striker, sort of like a 10, like sort of that in between position. He's getting to the boxes, he's having loads of shots. I think he's the number 1 shots out of all players in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's the player that Leeds thought they were signing a couple of years ago. He hasn't really taken off yet. Maybe this is the season where he does take off.
Yeah, true. I guess we'll go on to the Man City game, which was, I guess no one was surprised Man City were going to run through Bournemouth. Maybe everyone expected Haaland to score 6 goals, but it wasn't that. It was quite well distributed. I think it was the KDB show, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the Haaland show. 8 touches over. I think he was on the pitch for about 70 minutes or something close to that. 8 touches, that's quite remarkable. Completed 2 passes. It wasn't just like his passing was off range. He only attempted 2 passes. It was very straight. But, a single striker playing against 3 centre-backs. I think Bournemouth's plan was to get men around him when he did get on the ball, the rare times. Yep. Jeff Salerma was certainly stuck to him for the most part. So I think it was part of Bournemouth's game plan. But we mentioned last week that you can't afford really to do that against this Man City side because guys like Foden, Gundogan, Mahrez, Grealish, they've got so many players that will just kill you. And De Bruyne was very much the star of the show in this one. Yeah,
probably my goal of the season so far, I would say, in my opinion. The way
yeah. Well, Diaz last night was pretty special.
That's true. What do you think of the game, JC?
Yeah, I mean, City are City. They'll absolutely dominate teams. As we said last week, I don't think the plan is particularly intricate. It's push forward with the wing, with the attackers on the wings, pass it where you can to Haaland for a tap in. Foden didn't get the memo, and Haaland probably should have got a goal, so it could have been more. And
got benched for his troubles.
Got benched for it, and I'm
Benched
pretty
at half
sure
time. Yeah,
Foden, is not playing a lot of minutes next game. But like, look, the quality is there. I think also when you've got midfielders pushing up like Gundogan, like he did a couple of seasons where he would get so many goals because he was almost a second striker pretty much just in the box. And I think KDB got a goal disallowed off a similar type of play last week, and it's quite scary the fact that City can just get goals from so many places.
yeah.
And obviously, it's the quality.
And I think that the Haaland thing, Guardiola mentioned it after the game, and he had a great point where for a couple of years, City have really played without a number 9. They it's either been an attacking player who's just been sort of
false 9.
Yeah, false 9 or a midfielder who will just drop in and play as an extra midfielder. They're not used to a guy always being in those goal scoring positions. Like when Foden had the opportunity to square it to him, I think learned behaviour. I think they'll start to figure out pretty soon that Haaland is always there, and he's going to get buckets of goals. No worries about that.
But I think it's interesting to note the difference between Darwin, who for his like 60 minutes, and Haaland, in the sense that I've always felt like Nunez was kind of stagnant in the box, whether that was by design or he was told to do that, I don't know. But it was more like stay in the box and let the ball come to you, whereas Haaland is more aggressive with his runs. He always runs in between players. He runs behind players. As we said, like he's super fast, he's rapid, so he'll normally get to where he needs to be before the centre backs. And I think it's just interesting to see that kind of approach of the players up front for the 2 best teams in the league.
Yeah, I think the Haaland thing was the only real thing to talk about from this game.
Yeah.
We haven't learned anything about Man City from this. We certainly haven't learned anything about Bournemouth from this.
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Yeah, and Haaland, even though he didn't score, he did get an assist out of his 2 touches.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, 2 passes, 1 assist. That is that's ratio.
Okay, from Bournemouth to another promoted team, Fulham and Wolves. It was a 0-0 draw. Not many talking points. I guess there was the penalty that Sarr saved, Mitrovic could have done a bit better, but not really much to go here, apart from those Neto chances.
Yeah, Neto chances. I mean, Wolves found themselves in the Fulham box with very few defenders an awful number of times, and didn't even get shots off. Not entirely sure what they were doing with some of these opportunities. Neto on one of them, you're just screaming at him to shoot. I don't know.
Took a huge touch, right?
Yeah,
took him away.
I think he just tried to dribble it into the goal, just beat every man in the way. But yeah, it seems like the same old Wolves from last year. Even despite this extra attacker that they're committing now with the new formation. 7 shots at home to a newly promoted. 8 shots. 7. 1 on target against a newly promoted side. That's not good enough. And they need heroics from Sarr. He's got them a point in this one. They can't do that week after week. They got to start scoring goals.
I think you see with Fulham just the issue of not having that focal point in attack, that the arrowhead that kind of finishes off the play. Because I think with teams like Wolves, when Neto gets in that position, he took a look up, kind of thinking someone was there, and obviously nobody was, and that's why the touch got away from him. Because clearly Wolves had like a game plan, but if you don't have the players to facilitate that, there's no need for them. Like Neto I felt like it was a position that he isn't normally used to being in, so that's why he kind of just did what he did. Like he took the ball away, heavy touch, and the Fulham defenders got back in time.
He needs to start getting used to it because they cannot waste opportunities like that.
Man, I've been watching Neto for like 3 years. This is him. This is just him. Like people only realize him now because they've all got him in the FPL team, but this is just Neto.
Oh,
For everyone
God.
watching, JC is our Neto correspondent.
Yeah,
He's a hotline
exclusively.
Quick word on Fulham. Still unbeaten.
Oh yeah.
This might be the year they finally stay up, lads.
On to the next match, and that was Brighton and Newcastle. Not sure. Newcastle performed quite well last match. Brighton performed well against United, and I think they continued in form. To be fair, it's 0-0, but Brighton were very unlucky, I think.
Yeah, classic Brighton. So they've got the same issue as Wolves. They just can't score.
Yeah,
They've dominated this game, and a bit of a weird one from Newcastle. I can't remember too many of these performances since like January, since they've had this new era at Newcastle. But it's a good Brighton side, so maybe just one of those days they'll be pleased to walk away with a point.
Yep, a clean sheet.
But Brighton, they need a number 9. They need someone to score goals. I mean, they've had 63 million come in for Cucurella. I'd be seriously looking to invest that in some sort of number 9. You go get Pookie or something from the Championship. Go get someone that's going to put the ball in the back of the net 10 to 15, even just 10 to 15 times a season in the Premier League. That would be good enough for Brighton. How good they are defensively and their general play.
Yeah, true. And I think Mope is also possibly he's off, right? So
But going to Forest, I think.
Oh, really?
Supposedly, Forest is signing everyone.
Yeah, they've signed like 15 players.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
mad one. Yeah, not much. Yeah, carry on, Jesse.
No, you go.
Yeah, not much to say on this game really. Brighton continued their form. I think the players that stood out for me was probably Gross again. He seems to be taking all the set pieces. He seems to be much more in the attacking third, which is good to see. It's normally Trossard that's normally the one that making the plays, but Gross is the one that's kind of key to it. But yeah, you're right. Without a striker, all this great play, it won't amount to much really. There'll be the
I
XG
think
charts.
Brighton will be pleased though. United away. I know it's a weird United time right now, but United away, Newcastle at home. That's not a nice start to the season. 4 points from it.
Yeah.
They'll be loving that.
I think that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks for everyone for listening. Let us know your thoughts. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next week. Ciao.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.